Well, thank you for having me once again. It's a real pleasure to co-host this content marketing workshop with our Borough of Tower Hamlets. As Deborah just mentioned, I'm Valentine and I'm the co-founder of SHAKE. So I've been working in the creative industries for over 10 years, and I've been producing a lot of digital content for many different clients, and I'm really happy to share my knowledge with you today. So a bit more about SHAKE and why we exist. We started back in 2015 with the goal to build bridges across the creative industries and bring the creatives workforce together. Since then, we have created creative communities around the world to connect creatives together. And we realized that it's actually not easy for small businesses to produce high quality content at an affordable price, simply because there was absolutely no direct access to trustable creative experts available. So last year, actually 2 years ago now, in 2019, we launched our platform where any business looking to produce creative content can post a project brief that is sent to all relevant creatives from our community. And then the creatives interested can apply to the job. And as a business, you receive quotes and examples of work of interested local freelancers. We also have a production agency where we take care of any digital and creative needs for our clients, and we hire and manage freelancers teams for you if you don't feel like managing it yourself. So since the first lockdown, we've been working with small businesses to help them diversify their revenue stream with online presence, as Deborah mentioned just earlier. And so we decided to share our knowledge with online workshops. So what are we going to talk about today? To start selling online, you need creative content to make people aware about your brand. Content is key to any digital marketing initiative, and it's especially important for paid advertising. Indeed, if you want to start paid advertising, you need to have high quality material to push and to invest money in. So the great way to start is to start organic, to test your content first. You don't want to create content and straight away make it an ad. You want to see if the content works organically. And then when it's nailed and it worked and you're sure that people react positively to it, then you can invest money on it for higher return and to drive customers to your digital shop front. Whichever digital shop front it is. It can be a website e-commerce, but today's you can sell on a lot of other platforms. You can sell on Instagram and Pinterest. Once you find the place where to sell, the next step is to drive people to that place so they become customers. So today we're going to talk about content strategy, and by following the steps outlined in this masterclass, you will be able to build a coherent content strategy and save time when you're ready to start paid advertising on social media. So yeah, as Deborah mentioned, this workshop is a part of our series, Essentials of Digital Marketing. And we are running a more advanced session of content strategy. So if you're interested in joining the full session, you can let us know in the feedback form and we'll send you an invite. So yeah, this presentation is going to last for 30 minutes and then I'm going to be happy to answer all the questions you might have. So today you will sign off with an understanding of content marketing. We'll define your brand content strategy according to your audiences. We'll learn about what content pillars are. We'll give you production tips and content ideas. And overall, that will give you the tools to start paid advertising, as I just mentioned. And we will also give you a takeaway template after the session for you to keep track of your strategy and how to start producing content. So let's put things back in context, like why selling online now? Well, actually nearly a quarter of the entire UK population will permanently change the way they shop, and that's 17 million customers. This new group, combined with those already used to digital shopping, have generated an extra 4.5 billion in UK online retail sale last year. But also, as a small business, it is the right time to invest because government is helping you at the moment and giving you the tool to get there. There has been a 20 million new funding to help small businesses recover from the pandemic. So it's really time to use that smartly and make smart decisions, invest it smartly to diversify sales and try to become future-proof. So let's get started. So the first part about creating a powerful content marketing strategy is to get to know your audiences. So you really want to know what they want, as it's essential to know who they are and what they want in order to sell them your product or services efficiently. So for any marketing initiative, you always want to come back to your audience because everything you do is to serve that audience. So it's really important to get to know who they are, their personality, and any characteristic they might have to create content that is relevant to them. If you know them well, you will be able to recommend things that they will appreciate, and in turn, they will not only take action, but also come to you for future recommendation. So why it's super important to identify the right audiences is because you cannot speak to everyone. So you have to focus on certain audience. If you don't know who your audience is, a great idea is to start with your larger or most beneficial customer group. Once you identify these audiences, you might end up with several ones, and it's fine, but you need to rank them in order of importance. So then you can identify a common thread between all of them and talk efficiently to all of them. So in order to dig deeper into your audiences, what we recommend is creating ideal customers profile for each of your target audiences. So you start with basic demographic and characteristic, which is gender, age, location, occupation. And then the habit. What do they do in their free time? You know, what sort of habits they have. And finally, you need to dig a little deeper and think about their driver, such as their likes, goals, dreams, but also their pain point, their fears, and their needs. And it's really, really essential to think about the answers to those questions to get a grasp on the kind of content that will speak to your target audiences. So once you know what really interests them, you can make them more invested in your brand, and you have better chances for them to become advocates. And ideally, you want any follower to become one of your brand advocates. So we'll see with little case studies what I mean with that. So for those who may know, Urban Outfitter is kind of a trendy hipster fast fashion brand. And so we're going to look at one of the target audience. So you can see on the left, the general demographic, like we took a segment that would be female between 16 and 25 years old, either student or young professional. They love the type of brands such as Glossier, Nasty Girl, Cosmopolitan, Elle. This is really important to know this type of information to get inspired and do content that might be in the same vibe that the things that she likes. And then on the right, you can see when we dig a bit deeper into her drivers. So she wants to be a trendsetter. She wants to access curated trendy clothes. What's stopping her from becoming a trendsetter is because she doesn't have access to curated trendy clothes. What are her goals? She wants to start her adult life the right way. And what her biggest dream? She wants to do what she loves and to be free. So we can see that really those driver question kind of allows you to get an emotional attached to your audiences and not talk to them only about your product, but talk to them about inspiring topics. So we're going to see another case study, a bit different, to show diversity of what we can do with persona. So for another ideal customer profile might look like this for Rolex. It could be a male between 35, 55 years old. That would be banking professional. loving a luxury brands like Mercedes, Ralph Lauren, and Forbes. He wants to be respected. What's stopping him from getting it is the authority in his place of work. His goal is to retire early, and his biggest dream is to be seen as successful. So once you digged into your persona and created those ideal customer profiles, it's time to confirm your assumption. So you want to confirm those assumptions with real people so you can make sure that you talk to them efficiently. So how you can do that? You can do that through market research. So where to find the people to include in your market research? Well, you can have your existing customer if you already have a customer list. You can find them on Facebook group. There is a lot of Facebook groups around specific interest or niche, so you can join them and post surveys there. And if you have an existing following on social media, you can use your following as well. And so when you're diving into market strategy, we recommend asking them specifically about what they want, what's stopping them from getting it, what their goals are, and what their biggest dreams are. And try to ask those questions as open questions, so that will give the opportunity to your respondent to give a personal answer in their own words. And by looking at the language your audience is using, you can reuse the words they use in your marketing communication and make sure you actually talk to them efficiently. So the question we saw in the previous slides are just a base, but you can of course ask more information if you need, and ask more questions specific to your business to include in your market research. Ideally, through the market research, you want to get to know your dream customer inside and out. You want to understand the brand they love, the community they're part of, where do they hang out online, what type of brands they're following, and yeah, once again, how do they communicate about their dreams and their wants, because you want to speak the same way they do. So now that we talked about your audiences, we're going to dive into your content strategy through two different things: the content pillars and the content types. So the first thing to remember is that people come to social media to be inspired, entertained, and educated. So social media isn't just a billboard. What you really want, like now that you know who your audiences are, you really want to show them things that are relevant to them. They want to see things that are relevant to their dream, their aspiration, and also things that are relevant in general. You can think seasonal. So we talked about content. You want to put interesting content out there, but for content to be impactful, it needs to be supported by a strategy. And the great way to start is by defining your content pillar. So what's a content pillar? It's a subset of topic or themes which create the foundation of your overall content strategy. They ensure consistency across your communication and should enhance your brand value and what matters to you or to your brand. So what content pillar can do and should do is to tell your brand story, appeal to your fan and make them want more, and finally convert your customers, your followers into customers. So ideally, you want to have 3 to 5 pillars to ensure they are strong and diverse. The more you have, the more content you will have to produce. So maybe you want to start small and add more further down the line. And you want to review them on a regular basis to make sure they're always relevant. So when defining your content pillar, you can think of many themes that are relevant to you and to your customers, but don't ever post something just because you have to. Like, don't think as a brand marketer. You have to think as a fan. You have to put yourself in the shoe of your ideal customer. That person is going to look at the content you produce and going to ask themselves, what's in for me? Will I like this content? Will I share it with my friends? And you want them to share it. You want them to spread the word about your brand. So if you don't know where to start, this is a great framework of category to define your content pillar. So you can have one content pillar, which is about your expertise and product. So depending on which industry you are, that can be your processes, okay, that can be a specific way of manufacturing your product. Then you have a second pillar that is about you and your journey. That can be your personal story as a founder. That can be a specific heritage, where your brand is coming from. And finally, the third one, which is what matters to you. And that's all about your values, your mission, and the biggest purpose behind your brand and your efforts. So let's see what we mean with a more concrete example, with a case study. So this case study is about Monzo. For those who don't know, Monzo is a UK digital bank, and they follow the same framework that I just presented, and they created 3 different content pillars around them. So for the expertise, they created 3 pillars. One is about product news and how-tos. The second is about financial advice. And the third one is user-generated content that include reviews and testimonials. Their about the brand pillar is a brand development pillar, including tech update and business initiative. And finally, for their mission and values pillar, what matters to Monzo, they created 2 pillars, one which is protecting against fraud, and the second one, which is the correlation between money and mental health. So looking at their content pillars, even if you don't know Monzo, just by looking at their content pillars, you understand straight away what this brand is about. And that's exactly what you wanna do for your own business. So as we just mentioned before, people come to social media for different things. They want to be educated, they want to be entertained. And so each pillar has a different objective. So you can see that the first 2 pillars of expertise, which is the product news and how-to, and the financial advice, are educating. The brand development, tech update, news, business initiative is informing, perhaps entertaining as well for banking people. And the latest one, which are protecting against fraud and money and mental health, are educating and also kind of inspiring. So we see that they all have a different objective and they're all bringing a different things to the follower. They're gonna bring them either education, either entertainment, either inspiration. And as you might have noticed, I haven't talked about the converting one, because this one is a very specific one. So it's the most important one to drive sales. Someone who might not directly become a customer if they read an advice. They might just take the advice, say, great, okay, cool, I'm leaving and I got the advice, but I'm not going to buy. While the user-generated content are actionable content for them to become customers. For example, a testimonial. You'll see, oh, wow, this person loved this service. I might become one customer too. So it's the most important ones to drive sales. But if you want to manage to convert people with this pillar, you need a variation of content to convince people that you're worth it and that your brand is worth it. What you don't want to do is have only converting pillars, because then you end up looking like a billboard, and that's definitely not what you want. So you always have to think about your entire customer's journey. You want your content to be not too salesy, you want it to be personal, relatable, informative, and then you can put your converting pillar at the right time within a healthy mix of content. So yeah, you really want to have a healthy mix of content paired with quality content to grab people's interest and attention. So then we can actually convert them better once they're convinced already by who you are. So now that we defined the content pillars that are going to support your strategy and you have your themes, we can start thinking about producing content and what type of content you can produce to bring this strategy to life. So there is a lot of different type of content that you can produce. I've compiled a few examples of content that I'm going to show you later on, but you can be very creative and innovative about that, from image-based to moving image and written type of content. There is plenty of things to produce. So this is what we just saw. So the first layer is your content category, so expertise about the brand and mission and value. The second layer is your content pillars. So for Monzo, one was financial advice, for example. The other one was brand development. And the third one was money and mental health. And for each pillar, it's very important to have a diversity of content types to support each pillar and make sure your overall content is engaging and not repetitive. Because, for example, if for financial advice, Monzo was only writing blogs, and for about the brand, they would only post image of their bank card, that would be very boring. You want to mix and have different type of content under each pillars. So let's see that in action with Monzo case studies. So for example, for the expertise pillar, which is financial advice, you can see they use the diverse content type to support this pillar. So they created, for example, image-based content with a series of graphic image with text. They also created written content with a blog article. For their brand development pillar, that is about their brand, once again, they use the diversity of content type. They created an explainer video to explain about a new feature. And they have also a feature announcement that is this time not video, but image with an illustration. Okay, yes. And then we can see the third example with their value pillar, that once again, they created a wide diversity of content with image, graphic assets, and blogging. Finally, when producing content, you can also think about seasonality to make your content relevant. So for example, the card on the Christmas tree is a highly seasonal content type, part of their about the brand. The image in the middle is a design layout about saving money for Christmas. So this one is part of the financial advice pillar. And finally, the last one on the right is a user-generated content from the user data, and that is seasonal and informative too. So that's always a good idea to think about seasonality as well to make sure you're relevant. So now that you have a good idea of your audience and what's gonna appeal them, it's time to produce your content. So quality content is king, and the quality of the content is essential to support your content strategy, and you want that to be highly qualitative. Why? Because the perceived value and trust in your brand is often judged based on the quality of your visual presentation. So further than quality needs to be relevant to your brand objectives and aligned with your visual identity, respecting your brand guidelines. As mentioned, so one thing that you could produce, for example, is social media templates. It's a really good idea to save you time, but also ensure consistency. That's something that we actually dig deeper into the full workshop. But one thing to remember when producing content really is quality over quantity. So what's quality content? You can see here that we have two different types of similar content, which is food photography. So the one on the left has the right lighting, the colors are appealing, the framing is interesting. That's the type of content that is high quality. The one on the right, for example, is pretty dark. The lighting is not good. The crop is not that good. So you want to aim for content on the left. And another example with graphic design, for example, is that the one on the right, you understand straight away that this is a testimonial. You know where to look. You can see the face of this woman. You know she's a customer. While the one on the left, the face is cropped. You can't really read the text. You're not sure what it is about. So you want to have high quality content for people not to ask themselves questions and give a good image of your brand online. So from ideas to reality, we've compiled some content ideas for you to get inspired that have all been created by freelancers from our community. So for example, product photography, you can actually think about product photography in a lot of different ways. You could produce pictures of your product without people for your website, e-shop, or Instagram. You could also shoot your product in situation to add a bit more storytelling there. And depending on your style, you can also think about shooting your product in a studio to have like something more minimal. You can think about producing portrait photography, for example, customer experience photography. Unfortunately, people cannot really come in person nowadays, but that's a good idea to kind of have an idea of what's the vibe within your shop. You might want to produce teams pictures, portraits to really put a face behind your brand and show who is your team. And you can also have behind the scene of you. Hello.
Hello.
I have a little mic issue. It's kind of like 1 second. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you put a yes in the chat if you hear me
Yes.
properly? Okay,
Yes,
great. Amazing. I had an issue. I could hear myself coming back. Anyway, yes, so our portrait photography, but also property photography. So for example, shooting your office, but also external spaces. You can also produce digital illustration of your products, put illustrations on your website to add consistency between what you share. You can also think about design elements. So these are examples of posters designed, but we also see through a Monzo example that you can design informative elements for your audiences. Finally, you can produce product explainer videos that can show your product and your services in a more engaging way. Video is a great thing to share on socials because it's very engaging. People tend to watch videos. If the format is short, it's usually a great way to grab people's attention. You can think about, okay, let's try to next this. I can't next without playing the video. I apologize for that. You can think about interviews or testimonials video. So, really ask your customers to talk about your brand. It's always better when someone else is talking about your brand than when it's yourself. It's always more convincing. So you can have customers testimonial, behind the scene interviews of the team. You can also have something about the founder stories. If one of your about the brand pillar is about your founder. Once again, okay. And you can also think about commercial video. So when you create commercial video to convert your followers into customers and you're ready to start paid ads, think about the formats for those. So it's always a good idea to have special Instagram story ads that have the right ratio, special Instagram ads in a squares format, TV ads if you're ready for that. But yeah, format is important because the audiences would be different. So this is highly related to the type of thing you're going to show depending on where it's going to end up. And finally, So this is what we saw today. We've been talking about your audiences, about your content strategy, understood what the content pillars are all about. We've been talking about the different type of content, and I've shown you many different examples to get inspired to start producing content. And so the full session, within the full session, we usually talk about your calendar's best practices, with when and what and when to push your content to your audiences. We give you our tip and best tools to use to save time in planning your content. We talk about choosing the right channels to communicate to your audiences, with each platform's specificities and our guidelines for copywriting. And finally, the most important thing of content strategy is analyzing the outcome. So we explain you how to do it right by setting up clear objectives and where and how to analyze the data.